Thursday's Thoughts is weekly devotional which covers a wide variety of topics we pray will encourage you. Keith Street Ministries is located in Cleveland, Tennessee. We would love to have you visit us in person if you're in the neighborhood. You can also visit our website at ksmcogop.org or find us on Facebook at Keith Street Ministries.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm so honored I get to speak with you guys today. I'm going to talk about a topic that is a passion of mine, and that is worship. For the past 10 or so years, I have had the opportunity to serve in praise and worship, and it's just a part of who I am. I hope my identity is always found in being a worshiper. And I understand, and I hope you understand, that is why we were created. That is why we are here, to bring praise and honor and worship to the Lord. And it is an order and a command to worship Him, while it is also the highest honor that we can bring ourselves to Him in worship. So I want to dive right in. My title today is I'm going to talk about the cost of worship. You know, today I think we associate the word worship with a part of our Sunday services. We associate worship with music or the praise team, or it's about the song. But worship is not about a set list on Sunday. It's not about the praise team, the band. It's not about the song. Worship is a heart posture, and I believe it's a posture that we should carry and portray every day of our lives. If I could put into two words what worship would be obedience and sacrifice. And so I want to talk about a passage in Genesis. I'm going to be going to Genesis 22, and you probably know it very well. It's Abraham and Isaac. And I think this lays out a blueprint of what worship is and what it looks like, or what it should look like. So I'm going to read bits and pieces of Genesis 22 to you and kind of just break it down and hit a few points. So Genesis 22, sometime later God tested Abraham, and He said to him, "Abraham, here I am." Abraham replied. And so I'll stop right there and say, we know this was a test for Abraham, and we know he obviously passed the test. But I think that in testing and trials come our best worship. I think in the testing and in the trial comes worship. And I think in our testing, it presents a door, a window, an opportunity to worship the Lord. And right there, Abraham said, "Here I am." And in Hebrew, that means without hindrance and without distraction. And that was his obedience. He's like, "Okay, here I am, Lord." The Lord hadn't even told him what He was going to ask him to do yet, but Abraham gave him his yes, gave him his, "Here, I'm yours, Lord." So that is our obedience part of worship. And then going on, then God said, "Take your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah," and we'll come back to that word Moriah in a second. "Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." And so that's where the sacrifice comes in. Like I said, worship, I believe there's two parts, the obedience part and the sacrifice part. So God had asked Abraham to give up what was most dear to him, which was his son Isaac. And right there, I just want to say, there's a cost. Worship, it'll cost you your pride, your opinions, your plans, and we have to be willing to sacrifice that to the Lord. There's an invitation for all of us in worship to come higher. In Revelation 4, John, he said, "Behold, I saw a door open in heaven and a voice like a trumpet saying, 'Come up here.'" There's an invitation for us all to come higher, but not everyone will go. Not everybody will ascend the mountain of the Lord, because there's a requirement that will cost you. Psalm 24 tells us, "Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Those who have clean hands and a pure heart." And I love, if you keep reading in Genesis 22, Abraham took two of his servants along with a donkey and along with his son Isaac. But before they ascended the mountain, Abraham said, it's in verse 5, he said to the servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go up." And right there, I just want to say, sometimes we're going to have to let some stuff go. Sometimes we may have to let our pride go, our money go, our careers go, some people in our lives that may be hindering us from ascending, because not everybody will count the cost. Not everybody will ascend the mountain. But I'm telling you, the reward at the mountain was the sacrifice God provided, right? I'm kind of jumping ahead, but Jesus was our sacrifice. He is the reward. But we've got to ascend the mountain, and not everybody or everything connected to you can go. So we've got to learn to let some stuff go. 2 Samuel 24:24, this is when David was going to build an altar, and I love what he said here. They were trying to give him animals for the burnt offerings and tools to build the altar, and he said they were going to give it to him as a gift, and he said, no, I will not sacrifice to the Lord my God burnt offerings that cost me nothing. Our sacrifices will cost us. Our sacrifice of praise will cost us, and it is that a cost that you are willing to pay. And I think there's two elements as we keep reading in Genesis 22 of worship that are essential, and that is the fire and the knife. If you go to verse 6, it says, Abraham took wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. And he himself, Abraham, himself carried the fire and the knife. And I want to talk about that for just a minute. The fire being the Holy Spirit, being his presence. He must consume us so that what's left of us is him. And I love that Hebrews 12 tells us our God is a consuming fire. And that is a direct quote from Deuteronomy 4. He's a jealous God. He's jealous for you. And I'll say, God will not compete with the seat on the throne of your heart. So you have to ask yourself, who sits on the throne of my heart? Because what you fear losing the most is what you will worship. And I love that Leviticus tells us the fire on the altar must be kept burning and it must not go out. He must consume all that we are so that we can burn for him. He burns us so that we can burn for him, and we won't burn for him if we have not been with him. And I love that worship gives us that opportunity to be with him, and that's the worship in the hard places, in the testing, in the secret place. That's the worship of the costly sacrifice. And then that's when he ignites the flame of our hearts to burn for him. And we become like the burning bush. When people walk by and see us, they must come over and see what is going on, what is in us that is burning. And it said the bush burned from within. We have to burn. Is your heart burning for the Lord? He must be the fire to consume us. And then the knife was the second one, which is the word. Hebrews tells us in Hebrews 4, the word is alive and it's active and it's sharp and it cuts and it divides between soul and spirit. And he's going to have to cut some stuff away. But I love that the word not only cuts, but it washes us. So he cuts us, and then he washes over us with the water of the word. And I was reminded of Hosea 6. He tears us so that he can heal us, and he injures us. He cuts so that he can bind up our wounds. And that's the beauty of the double-sidedness of worship. It cost us essentially everything, but in return, we get everything because Jesus is our reward, and we burn for him, and he washes us with the water of the word. We cannot offer ourselves as a living sacrifice, as Romans 12 tells us. I don't believe we can be a living sacrifice without the fire and the knife. We must be willing to lay ourselves down and for him to cut away what does not belong and bring us back to the heart of worship where it's all about Jesus. We sing that song, I'm coming back to the heart of worship where it's all about you. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it, but it's all about you. Our worship can never be about ourselves or to be seen by men. It's to be seen by the Lord. And I want to go back to when God told Abraham, go to the region of Moriah. I thought it was so interesting, that word Moriah. It can be translated as seen by Yahweh. And that same place, Moriah, is the same place that David built an altar and Solomon built the temple, in which the Lord filled that temple with his presence. And so I want to say the place where obedience and sacrifice is made, the Lord will fill that place. Where we bring our obedience and sacrifice, the Lord will reveal himself and make himself known and fill that place. And so that's where I believe our worship should come from. Worship cannot be about our emotions. Emotional worship will end in empty worship every single time. And so I just want to remind ourselves, sometimes we forget Jesus paid a high price with his blood that even gave us access to the Father to come close. When Jesus died on the cross and he said his final words, "It is finished," he tore that veil. And he tore the veil so that we could now come with unveiled faces to behold him and to become like him. And his blood, I've heard it said like this and I love it, is the red carpet in which we have access to ascend the mountain, to ascend the throne room, to be close to God, because we lost that in the garden. But Jesus redeemed it by his blood, and I love that. And I just want to say, in our worship, Jesus must be the main audience. Our worship should be for an audience of one. And he, like I said, he is the reward. And the reward from our devotion to the Lord, which is himself, will always be worth the cost of our worship. I hope this encouraged and challenged you as it did me. Thank you for watching. Be blessed. Bye.
If you like this video, please click the like button. Subscribe to get updates when new videos are released.